Here.
Joe Gillis, Todd Rulison,
Here.
David Demore.
Here.
We have a quorum to get started. Start with the minutes from the February 9th meeting that everybody has received. Is there any questions or comments on those draft minutes? Hearing none, would someone make a motion to accept those?
So moved.
Motion.
Roll call, we'll do a roll call vote to approve. Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Jane Kelly, Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Dave Demore.
Aye.
Budget report is next. That is attached to your agenda that was emailed out to you last week. On the revenue side, we received the annual seeker administrative fee from Benjamin Moore and investment earnings of $87.55 for the month. And then on the expenditure side, there was salary, some work down below on the IDA's website from that Betsy will be talking about here later. We had our annual fee for the security certificate for the IDA's website, and we had miscellaneous expenses at Tryon, which involved our semi-annual insurance bill of $3,167 and the electricity bill for the pump station. So total expenditures for the month $5,323.73, and that would be required month. So, any questions on that budget report? Hearing none, would someone make a motion to accept that report?
So moved.
Jane Kelly, Todd Rulison.
A second.
We'll take a vote. Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Dave Demore.
Aye.
Committee reports, Audit Committee Monthly Bank Reconciliation Report. Mr. Semyon, you had those for this month?
Yes, I did. I reviewed the 18 pages that Carol, our CFO, sent to us and to me, and everything was in order. I just reviewed the money market accounts, what we have, and the one for the Johnstown that's held separately. So everything was in order. So I sent her back an email saying everything was good.
Very good. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Under other reports, we have no other county representative here, so there's no county report. CRG, Kent, we have attached to the agenda here. Everybody has your monthly report. Would you like to comment on it?
Sure, I will. I'll just do it at a high level, and if anyone has questions, we can dive in where you want to. First of all, thanks for letting me sit in the meeting. Always good to join this group and hear what's going on. So on the report, just to, again, kind of go through the highlights here. The first one, probably of interest to this group, is we are marketing Tryon to a group that's looking for a fairly large piece of property. Can't really share any information on that organization, but there have been no decisions at this point, but just to be aware, there's something in the mix there. Continue to work with Benjamin Moore and their financial incentives with their activity, so that's ongoing. We've got a number of things going on with our building. As you know, we've been working to get a number of improvements with the 34 West Fulton Street building, and still have some of that underway, as you can see in there. The microenterprise grant program for this next 12 months, I think most of you know this is a pretty big area of focus for us. Typically in prior years, we've had about $200,000 in grant money with that program, and we typically limit those grants to about $25,000 a piece just to get more out of that money. This year we've applied for a larger grant of $300,000, so we're hoping to get that and be able to serve more businesses. That whole program has really started to pick up steam, and we've got a number of organizations, local businesses that are pursuing that. So we're keeping our fingers crossed we get that increase. On the community assistance, I won't go through all of these, but I think you can kind of get the gist of them by reading through it. These are all in process, and we can talk about individual items if you want to. On the next page, the business marketing, same thing. I won't read through them all, but a number of good initiatives underway with some local businesses and some startups. We hope that'll lead to some projects. On the one area that's been a pretty big focus for us is workforce development. We've had a couple of meetings with a number of businesses. They've gone really well. We initially focused on kind of production improvement type initiatives, but it's come out from these meetings that their biggest challenge is just simply filling jobs. And so we are adding a jobs tab to our website. I think there was an attachment that went with this report. Hopefully you've got it. That just kind of shows it'll basically be logos of local companies. People can click on those logos and go right to their jobs page and apply to jobs and review jobs. So hope to have that up and running soon. We also have, let's see, some business training programs going on. You've also got an attachment with the schedule for that. This has been ongoing, and so we've got just the general courses going on, and then also the specific training for microenterprise grant organizations. So keeping a lot of things going with that. And I think another just a side benefit of the training program is just the engagement we get with local businesses. So it works out well. And then finally, it's not on this report, but I just wanted to acknowledge we do have a site assessment study that we're trying to get moving forward. We're getting grant funding from MBED and National Grid, and the initiative is really to identify new sites. I think we're all aware that we've got limited sites available right now, which is limiting our ability to compete for projects. So this will help us identify new sites and even look at the possibility of a mega site in the county at some point. And this thing has not started yet. It is awaiting proposals that are actually due tomorrow. So if we receive qualified proposals, we'll be reaching out to this group for your engagement with this project. We would view it as kind of a joint effort between the two groups if you're willing. I think Scott is aware of this kind of being in the works, but until we have something to work with, we really hadn't moved anything officially forward. But I just wanted to make the group aware that, you know, by the end of this week, we should know and hopefully be able to say we're going to move this forward and be able to tap into the experience and resources the IDA can provide in a project like that. So that's the report. Happy to talk about any questions or people might have.
I've got a quick question about the site assessments. From my understanding, they are possibly hiring a person that's going to, I mean, we're part of 6 counties. I know that that's in this MVID. What will they be doing for site assessments? I mean, are they going to be looking at the Tryon Park again and any other land that we may have and do a re-evaluation of it? Or, I mean, what's their purpose by when you say site assessment?
Yeah, I don't have a deep understanding of the project, but my understanding is that they will look at the entire county and including our current industrial parks in Tryon to look at them. But I think the real focus is on trying to identify new sites, is my understanding.
Okay. And then the county could look at vacant lands or whatever, and they could make a determination as to whether they might be feasible.
I assume so, yes. Yep.
And Ken, who's receiving the proposals, MVED or the CRG?
Because of the way the funding is coming through, it's got to go through MBED. So they'll be receiving them. I asked I think it was last either Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, I guess it was Friday morning, And as of that point, they had not received any proposals, but they are again not due until tomorrow.
And is MVED going to do this in all 6 counties or just Fulton County? Are they going to do? Are they going to do site assessments in all their counties? Do you know, or is this specific to just to Fulton County?
Jim, my understanding is this is specific to Fulton, but I'm not. I haven't seen the contract or whatever they've got in place to get this started, so I'll just say that's my understanding. I'm not sure if it's right.
Fair enough. Any other questions for Ken? Great. Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good meeting.
All right. Okay, we're going to deviate a little bit from the agenda and jump ahead to our audit. Mike, we wanted to get Mike Rossi in and out of here this morning. Mike, if you could go through your audit and your findings and get us started.
Okay, thank you, everybody. As you know, that these audits are due March 31st. We have been working with Jim on the Paris report. After the meeting, if these are accepted by the board, we will make these final and we will then upload them to the Paris report, and that'll complete what we need to do for New York State and the Public Authorities Act. You have 2 different sets of financial statements in front of you. I'll start with the one that's the schedule of investments. A couple of years ago, New York State decided that IDAs needed to have a separate audit of the investments, and we have provided that report. The report on page 1 and 2 is our opinion, and our opinion is that the numbers present fairly in the report. And part of the issue is that we don't have any investments, but we still have to note that our investments are 0, which we have done on page 3 of this report. We actually, on page 5, talk about the investments and talk why we're at 0. So we have money markets, and that is our only form of cash other than a checking account. And we had $1,059,397 in our money market at 12/31/20. So although somebody might consider that an investment, it has a maturity of less than 1 year. So we say that that is a cash equivalent and thus no unrestricted investments. IDAs, as well as with governments, have very limited things they can actually invest in. So there are certificates of deposit, there are US treasuries, and if something was invested in that and went over a year in maturity, we would have it as an investment in this report. When I talk about the financial statement audit, which we'll talk about next, you'll see that the cash amount is slightly different in the other report, and that is because the difference is the checking account. There was a couple $100 in the checking account. So strictly this notes to the schedule of investment on page 5 shows the money market, $1,059,000 less the cash equivalent because it could just be converted into cash and thus 0 unrestricted net assets. Okay, so that is a report that is required and we've complied with that. Then we have the larger of the 2 reports, which is the basic financial statements. And they are in the same format as the prior year. And on page 1, our independent auditors report, we say at the bottom, we believe that we have obtained evidence for our report. And then at the top of page 2, we say, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. So that is an unmodified opinion. That's the highest opinion we have as a profession and the opinion that you have received in the past. After the opinion, there are several pages, and the pages go from page 3 through page 11. This is management discussion and analysis, and we report in government under GASB, Governmental Accounting Standard Board number 34, and those require governments to have a MD&A, and basically this gives the reader an idea of what is in the financial statement and what we do as an agency. And the nice part about this is before the MD&A existed, there was no chance for the agency to put into a financial statement what they've actually done. And if you went to page 6 in this report and 7 over to 8, this is all of the accomplishments and the things that we did during the year. We have received this from Jim Mraz. We have put it into the financial statement. So it really gives the user and the reader of the financial statement the understanding of what goes on at the agency in a year. Then the actual financial statements would start on page 12. And these are in the same format as they were in the past. We have a statement of net position. For anybody in business, that is nothing more than a balance sheet. And you can see that we have current assets of about $1,059,615. And you see the cash debt is restricted. Do you have a question?
No, I just turned my light back on in the
Oh,
office.
I saw you raise your hand, sorry.
Oh, no, motion light.
Okay. So we have cash and you see that there's $369,000 that is restricted in here. And that's the city of Johnstown. We have their cash and there is a note on that in note 2. So then we have development projects, $3,199,000, by far our biggest asset. And what that is if you went over to page 17, we have our parks. We have Crossroads Industrial Park, Crossroads Business Park, the Johnstown Industrial Park, and the Tryon Technology Park. And we've invested money into these parks. And then when we sell the land off or build something, then we acknowledge a gain or loss and reduce the park cost. Then we have the offsetting liability due to the city of Johnstown because they could ask for the money back. And then long-term debt, I don't know that we will ever receive some of this money. This has been the same number for a number of years. It's also listed out on page 17. It was to do with the Crossroads Business Park. We have various investments in that park. So there's $514,000 in long-term debt as it was in the past year. And then we have assets net of restrictions, and we have $3.3 million in net position at the end of December 31, 2020. If you go to page 13 in the report, page 13 says statement of activities. This is nothing more than a income statement, but again, it's laid out in this format and we cannot change this format. If you see where it says charges for services and you see there's $35,000 in the middle column, we received about $10,000 from, I think it was Fulton County for reimbursement for developing projects, and the $25,000 in professional fees. We received money back from various businesses that we are reimbursing legal fees and stuff like that for. So we don't net those. We've recorded those and then show the charge for service and the net of $35,000 if you look all the way across. The biggest change on this page this year is we actually had a positive change in net position of $44,000. And the largest reason for this was we recognized the fee that we were paid by Benjamin Moore for their upcoming project. So we received a large amount of money from that, and that became revenue, and thus we had more revenue than expenses this year. So we're plus, 44,000 for the year, and that is why our net position went from 3.33 million to 3.37 million. Okay, after that, pages 15 through let's see, page 19 are the notes to the financial statement. There's no real change to the notes to the financial statement this year. Page 16 does detail out that cash that's restricted due to the city of Johnstown. So each year we update that. There were no requests from the city of Johnstown for money this year. Page 17 at the top, note 3 shows our development projects and what we have invested in each one. Now, one of the differences is we don't consider everything development projects. So that's why some of it was an expense on that other page. Cutting the lawn at the Tryon Park is an expense to the park. If we upgrade the sewer or the electrical system, it's an investment in the park for long-term. So that's how we delineated some changes there. Long-term debt, as I mentioned, that has been sitting on the books for a number of years now. In 2005, we stopped paying interest on that money, and that $514,000 is listed out. I did check. Fulton County Economic Development Corp is still in existence. So we talked about that last year at this meeting, and I did talk to Ron Peters again this year, and he said it is still in play. So we still have $150,000 there. After that, we have a note on page 6 or page 18, note 6, industrial revenue bond note transactions. This is for the YMCA, and there is a little bit of new language in here because of the pandemic. The YMCA applied for and received 2 3-month deferrals of its principal and interest from MBT Bank. We've added that language in here. So that will just be an extension of the time till the bond gets paid back. But there was a balance of $1,530,000 on that bond at December 31st, 2020. So that's the only new language. Other than that, page 19, very important, note 7, we do look to see if all the cash is collateralized because we have $1 million in cash and there's $250,000 worth of FDIC. We want to make sure that the agency goes out and collects third-party collateral. So in case of a bank failure, we would not lose our money. So that was done and done properly. Page 20 of the report is the second opinion. Because it's a governmental opinion, we have to give a opinion over financial reporting. And here again, it's a clean opinion, unmodified. As you've seen, this agency is well run. The books and records are in good shape, and we have no issues with that. There's no major journal entries that we write. We talk to Jim throughout the year. We do things if something comes up. So there were no major issues, unmodified opinion. Page 22 is, it's a requirement. It's the schedule of the facility bond that I was talking about in the notes. So Fulton County YMCA is the only one with $1.5 million outstanding at the end of the year. The code of ethics on page 23 is a requirement, and that has been included. And then on page 25, there is a certification page that Jim Mraz and Carol Ellis both sign off that they have attested that these financial statements are accurate to the best of their knowledge. So that actually gets signed. This will go on, Paris, which is a public document. People can see it. So that is the financial report. Other than that, the books and records were really in good shape this year. I really do wish that we had gone to QuickBooks instead of an upgraded version of Quicken. That would have just provided a double entry system, but we can follow what Carol's doing. And I see that the board members are signing off on the cash transactions and all the expenditures are reported throughout the year. So really the system works. And with that, that is my report.
Any questions of Mike and the reports?
Just want to compliment Weston Company. I have a long relationship with all the partners there, and it was a very good presentation, Mike. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim, I've got a follow-up question.
Sure.
Just on the last statement there about the utilization of QuickBooks in lieu of Quicken. Remind us why we do that. Why haven't we made the switch to QuickBooks? It would seem our accountant would prefer we do, but.
It's just preference. Carol has a comfort level with using Quicken. It's what we've been using all along since day one. So it's more just personal preference. on her part. And, you know, we talked about it, and, you know, Mike has made it clear that he would prefer, but he's also made it clear that, you know, as long as they can continue to understand what Carol is doing using Quicken, you know, they're okay with that. And, you know, that is the case. So it's really just personal preference on Carol's part,
Gotcha.
because it's all she's used over the years.
Okay.
Okay.
Quick question also, is it every 5 years we have to have a different auditor team member?
Yep.
What year is Mike?
A lead auditor, correct.
Lead auditor, yes. So what year is Mike in right now, or do you know?
This would be Mike's third consecutive year, I believe, second or third. So we have a few more years of looking at Mike at these meetings.
Sounds like a plan.
So, very good. No, if there's no other questions, what I would ask is for a motion to approve both of these audits as submitted by West & Company, and to authorize West and myself to file these in Paris and to distribute those to the agencies that are required to receive these, which is the county treasurer, the commissioner, Department of Economic Development, the New York State Controller, and also to put it onto the IDA's website. Would someone be willing to make that motion?
Make that motion.
Mike Fitzgerald, I saw Jane Kelly go up. I'll take that as a second, Jane. Okay. Let's do a roll call vote on that motion. Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Dave Demore.
Aye.
Motion is passed. Mike, if you could take the words draft off of that and resend that to me.
Yep.
And then get that posted would be appreciated.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mike.
Take care, Mike.
Good day.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next up, going back to old business on the agenda, we have with us here Betsy Emery from who's been working diligently for the past year or so on updating our website. And with that, Betsy, the floor is yours. If you would run us through what work we've done.
All right, well, good morning. I'm gonna take over sharing the screen here. Let's see. Hopefully this will do it. There we go. All right, so if you haven't been to our website lately, this is it, and this is what it looks like. And you may be asking yourself why we went through this process. And the answer is that the whole nature of websites has changed in the past 5 to 10 years. We used to just throw up a bunch of information and promote ourselves as much as possible, but now we want to engage with our viewer and we want to get them to do something. So we're going to what's called conversion and engagement. Upon first look here, you'll notice that we have some new photography. Let me just let it run through the slideshow here. We spent some money on a professional photographer, and now instead of having pictures of empty fields and aerial photographs of Tryon with just forest, we have some strategic businesses placed here, and we pull to our top calls to action, which is we want them to contact us. We want them to find out more about what's going on here. Another big thing here is the call to action. So the first thing in our development that we did, in addition to making it more relevant, was we defined our audience. And the people that are looking at our website are people that are interested in doing business with the county. And specifically, we focused on site selectors. And we interviewed several site selectors, some that you're familiar with. And I do have transcripts if you are interested in seeing more about what they have to say. Dave's familiar with the customer development interview because I have pulled him in and interviewed him for another client.
It's true.
but there's no one that can tell you what your site needs to do other than the people that are going to use it. So what we were told primarily is that, one, things have to be easy to find. The website has to be responsive and it has to look good. What we mean by responsive, I'm going to show you here quickly, is when you change the size of the screen, the website changes how it formats itself. Okay. So since 65% of traffic is now on phones, we need it to look good on a phone. So ours does that. It even, let me show you, it even does it for once you get to a tablet size or a notebook size. So that's a pretty cool feature. That's a little techie thing. The second thing that they were interested in is having current, relevant, real-time information. And they were specifically looking for information on our workforce. And we did quite a bit of work here on this. The workforce button that's on the front page, up front and center, takes them to an overview kind of what they were interested in, which was skills, training, wages, and talent. So we have that here. And then we did some detailed work on training. So we talked to FM and we got updated information from them. So this is our information from Fulton Montgomery College. HFM, BOCES, and PTech are huge for us. So we did a nice, real detailed page on PTech that includes video information. Instead of just a bunch of text, we've got a lot of image and a lot of interactive video. And the work training. And this would be a good place to interact with the CRG. Once they have their workforce pages up and running, we can send people there to get training, to get jobs. So workforce was big. Another thing that was really important was they wanted to know what other businesses were doing. It was like to do business here. So we did this nice page on how it is to do business in Fulton County. And then we send them to the top employers page, which is, they really, really want to know who else is here and what's going on. So we did a detail on each of our top employers. We have this NAICS number, which apparently is really important to site selectors. It refers to the targeted industry that they're in. And as you can see, let me put it back, it presents pretty nicely on the phone. So people can just scroll through and see what's going on. And each one of these goes to a more detailed page. The next thing that they're interested in is they want to know what sites are available. So we did some work on our shovel-ready sites, and each one of them now is map-based. So here's our Tryon movie, and this is our interactive map. So each one of these pieces, when you click on it, it tells you about the property and the availability, who's there, what's going on. And they can download the map and they can get our brochure. Previously, what we had done here was we just had the link to our brochure, which was a PDF file. And over the course of the years, we had taken the PDF file and put it into a text format so that they could read it on their phone. And so a search engine could find it. But this was on our wish list. And I think it came out pretty user-friendly. Let's see. The other thing that site selectors complained about was not having contact information available. What we did was on every page, we have a call to action that sends them to our contact page. Okay, which gives them the phone number, Jim's name, where we're available. And they hate forums, but we included one just because some people do like them. We also added a nice page on our staff where they like to look at people. They want to know what they look like. And we did a page on you guys so they can see your smiling faces here.
Oh, we got to make a change.
We do have to I noticed that yesterday when we were going through. So, and the final thing that they had talked about was time relevant news, and that we're working on. We started with doing this doing business in Fulton County page. So we had talked about what was going on with COVID and how people, now that they've discovered they can work from anywhere, they're kind of moving out of the cities and they're moving to the more rural areas, which makes us more desirable than we were in the past. So this is just like a teaser page that we're marketing on Google. And if we get LinkedIn, we'll do it on LinkedIn, but we're taking little bits. This is a new map that we had done. It's just talking about Fulton County and why Fulton County is an awesome place to move to should you want to move your business. I know you guys have seen this. This was a book that the Center for Regional Growth had done. And we're sending them there to look at that book because it's very nicely done and it's a good way for us to work together. Moving forward, as far as keeping our content fresh and new and updated, what I would like to focus on is our top employers and also our targeted industries. And doing some more detailed information on our targeted industries. So I think the only other thing I should mention is that in addition to this work, we started working with an SEO specialist. SEO, I know, is a term that gets thrown around and not everyone always knows what that means. What it is search engine optimization. And what happens with search engines is they don't see our web page like this. Let's see if I can show you. This is what a search engine sees, is this. So it's using a mathematical equation to figure out when someone types in a key phrase, when to send them to our site. And so we've been using certain keywords. We've been doing some new writing, using certain words a certain number of times. And we've been looking at our competitors, not competitors in the sense that you would think like a business standpoint, but people that are competing with us for traffic online. So we've had some great improvement. I've seen up to 28 to 30% improvement over last year. And we'll have a nice report for you for your next board meeting. We're doing quarterly reports on that for you now. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Do you have any questions for me?
I think it looks great, Betsy.
Could
Well,
you go
thank
to
you.
the about us and what in the piece about what site selectors say?
Sure. I can.
I thought this came out really good. Based upon when these three site selectors came to Fulton County a couple of years ago, Betsy, we put in pictures of the three gentlemen and some of the quotes from them when they did their presentation to the public. And it's just, these three guys are internationally known. And some of the quotes that we put in here really speak well about the county and what they observed when they were here. So I think this is pretty powerful information that Betsy added. So I really like how this came out.
Yeah, we did a lot of work this year. We really did.
It's really nice, Betsy. Thank you.
Thanks. I think the professional photography has made a huge difference. And I'm focusing on local businesses this is our commercial, what I consider our commercial, our slideshow.
And scroll down to the middle of this page, Betsy, where the blocks are, right here. We put these on here because we think these are kind of our key assets, our key strengths as a county, our expedited approvals, our strategic location, our business climate, our workforce, and our infrastructure. So that's why these are all plugged on our homepage. And again, you can, someone goes on to any of these 6 spots, and you can click it and they'll bring you to a new page with more information about it. Betsy, just click on strategic location
Sure.
as an example.
And I'll back that up too with our research showed that those were the top searched for categories when
Yeah.
looking at economic development.
So again, it follows up with, additional information and, again, so somebody can get some additional quick information on why we have a strategic location. So, all right. Any other questions? Very good. Betsy, thank you for your presentation and thank you for bearing with us and all the work that we have done. Did you get my email from yesterday?
I did. I didn't address it yet, but
I understand. What we are, as you're going to see later in the agenda as part of board training, I put in here a kind of a step-by-step process of what a company and what the process is that the IDA goes through when it deals with a company. And I did it for board training purposes, but in talking with Betsy last week, we think it's also something that might have some value to put onto the website. So that if a company goes to our one tab dealing with incentives and says, what financial incentives can I get from the IDA? We'd also have in there, if you want to get it, here is the step-by-step process that you're going to have to go through to get those approvals. And I think we just think it would be something that a company would be interested in seeing so they understand, what that process is and can see that it's not going to take very long to obtain these. So you'll see later in the agenda when we go through that, but that is that's one thing that that's not on there now because I just sent it to Betsy yesterday. So I don't know what's taking so long, Betsy. You've had 10 minutes to get it done. So,
normally I'd have it done, but I was under the gun yesterday. So,
thanks, Betsy.
all right. Bye. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Betsy.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next on the agenda is our Nexus Renewables solar project. I think I emailed everybody with this information last week to get you up to date. But with respect to the project, there's been some developments relating to it that we need to address. First is this whole interconnection cost. The cost of connecting the solar projects to National Grid's electric grid. National Grid had agreed with Nexus they would actually do the installation of these lines, but when they gave Nexus what that cost was going to be, it resulted in the project not being financially feasible. And a good portion of that cost was tied to putting the lines underground. Secondly is, National Grid, we were looking to have those lines run along that easement that the IDA had approved on the east side of the Vireo property. They would run underground and then come on to County Road 117 and then run around County Road 117 a ways. National Grid advised Nexus recently that they did not like that route because they were afraid that it would interfere with the new underground primary electric service they just installed along County Road 117. So those two developments resulted in looking at an alternative route to interconnect those solar projects with National Grid's electrical grid. And what came out of this was identifying a route that would take these lines along the rear property line of the Vireo Health property, come out onto IDA property down near the wastewater pump station, and then cross below the pond, come up the hill, and then connect into National Grid's overhead lines that come into the park from County Road 107 along the old secondary access road. this route would have these electric lines installed overhead as opposed to underground. And in doing so, it returns the project to be financially feasible for Nexus's part. And so what is needed is this board, which previously had approved a project that involved the lines going one location, kind of needs to, we need to endorse this alternative route in order to keep this project moving forward. The other thing was that National Grid came back and advised Nexus that if they wanted to keep this as an 8 megawatt solar project, National Grid's feeder line that goes from where it would interconnect to their substation can't handle that amount of additional load. And so if you wanted to keep it at 8 million or 8 megawatt, Nexus was being asked to undertake a multi-million-dollar upgrade to the feeder line. What National Grid said was, if you kept it at about 3 megawatt, the current feeder line can handle that, and there'd be no additional cost needed. So as a result, Nexus has downsized its project from an 8.1 megawatt DC to a 3 megawatt DC project. So those are the changes. It's the change in the size, the change of the route, and the change of going from underground to overhead. Now, we had previously requested that these lines go underground and not overhead because they were going to be coming out and running along County Road 117. And we didn't want to have power lines above overhead along County Road 117. This revised route, though, would be behind Vireo and down the hill and really not be visible. So the concern of visual impacts is really minimal to none with this alternative route. Does everyone understand these proposed changes?
Yep.
Is there any questions on these proposed changes?
So they still want to go through with this?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
All right.
They have a lot invested in this project already, and wish to see this move forward. Now, so what I'm asking for is a motion to acknowledge the IDA's support to these 3 revisions, which is the revised route, now using above ground lines, and a reduced project size. That would be the motion that I am asking for someone to do.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
Any additional questions or comments? Dave?
Quick question.
So Jim, with the reduced size, how does that change the financial benefits that any of the entities involved with the project would receive?
It doesn't change. It doesn't change the fact that this is going to be a community solar project, that subscribers will be able to receive a 10% up to 10% reduction in their energy bill. What it will change is the potential revenue that the IDA is going to receive from the power purchase agreement side of this. Okay, we were previously going to be generating revenues from an 8 megawatt, getting a certain dollar value per kilowatt hour. This is going to be reduced by 60%. The lease revenues won't change, okay, because they're still leasing the same tract of land. But we were estimating about 10,000 a year from the power purchase. It may now be 3,000 or 4,000 a year.
Gotcha.
The lease revenue won't change.
Is there a chance that in the future, Nexus would want to eventually get to 8 whatever megawatts and maybe do that upgrade once they've got a system up and running and doing something?
There is.
Okay.
There's a chance. That's an option. That's an option that they always have.
Okay.
And so, if, let's just say for other reasons, National Grid needs to upgrade the feeder line. Okay. If that would present the opportunity for Nexus to expand at that time.
Okay.
Okay.
Are they still thinking of doing this coming year, or taking a year to get up and running?
Yes, their intentions are to start shortly. They have received proposals from energy contractors to go out and start the work. And they are evaluating those as we speak and expect to award a contract shortly. So their intentions are to move this forward and be operational this year.
And we still have to get a right of way for them? For one?
They have to secure the right of way
They have to.
from Vireo.
Right.
And then we need, and I'm not presenting that right of way or easement today because we haven't got the exact survey description of it yet. Well, once that comes in, I will come back to this board and ask for an endorsement of that new easement.
Sounds good.
Okay. The other thing is, it's actually, we have to revise the leases, okay, because there's some of these, the size of these projects, may have changed. So, Joe, once those are done, we'll have to get those re-signed. But we already have authorization to sign leases, so I don't think we need to, because these are just some editorial changes that have to get made. I don't think we need to get reauthorization for that. So.
Okay, good.
Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All righty, moving ahead to back to new.
We have to finish our vote then?
You're right, Joe.
No problem.
We have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote. Joe Semio,
Aye.
Jane Kelly.
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
David Demore.
All right.
Now we can move on, Joe.
No problem. You just see if I was awake.
Always are. You never let me skip anything, so.
No problem.
Okay, the IDA's 2020 annual report is next on the agenda. I emailed that out to everybody. It is a much larger report than we've used to in the past. As again, this is as a result of new state requirements for what needs to be in the annual report, but it's presented it to everybody. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that report? Hearing none, would someone make a motion to approve it and to authorize its filing under Paris?
So move.
Thank you, Todd. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second, Jim.
Thank you, Mike. Let's do a roll call vote to act on that motion. Dave Demore,
All right.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Jane Kelly, Joe Semio.
Aye.
Very good. Next two items on the agenda, simply a review of information that we're required to do. First, for the Benjamin Moore project, we authorized, the IDA board authorized Benjamin Moore to receive up to $720,000 in sales tax benefits. Benjamin Moore has requested that their general contractor, Plank Construction, be set up as a sub-agent for obtaining the sales tax exemption. That has been completed. And part of the Benjamin Moore's responsibility is each year they are to file a report, a ST-340 form with the State Department of Taxation and Finance that identifies the actual amount of sales tax benefits they took in the preceding year. IDA board is supposed to review those forms each year to make sure that the amount of sales tax being taken and reported does not exceed the amount that they were authorized to take. Plank Construction filed their report for last year. And since they just started the project in December, they reported only a couple $100 worth of sales tax exemptions were actually taken. So they have met their obligation to file a report, and they're still in compliance with what the IDA board is authorized to take. So I'm assuming this time next year, when we review their report for 2021, which is when most of this construction is going to take place, that's when we'll see the majority of their sales tax benefits being taken. Okay. Anyone have any questions on that?
No.
Next, Century Linen, same thing. IDA board granted a sales tax exemption to them based upon several material terms that they represented in their application, that they were going to make a private investment of over $6 million, that they were going to retain up to 100 full-time jobs and create 32 full-time equivalent jobs. They are now required to report back to us saying, here's what we said we were going to do, and then compare that to what they actually did. And based upon we received a letter from Century Linen verifying that the actual investment made exceeded what they said they would, that they did retain the number of jobs that they said they would, and they actually created more jobs than they represented in their project application. So they have certified to us that they have complied with the material terms that were used as the basis for granting them sales tax. Kara, anything, is that okay from your end?
Yeah, that's fine. What they've submitted is acceptable for your record keeping and to close out that project.
Okay. Any questions? All righty, moving on. Getting into board training. Deviating a little bit here from what we've done in the past. Just wanted to start, on your agenda, first thing I put on here are key reporting dates. And just so you understand, these are things that I have internally that represent, tasks that have to be done certain times during the year. And I just wanted to share those with you so you could see these. In certain months of the year and certain days, there are certain times when reports have to be filed. For example, at the March board meeting, which I have listed, which is today, that's when we receive and approve the audit, which you've done. You receive and approve the annual report, which you've done. And you review ST-340 forms, which we just did. And then by the end of this month, all right, I have to file the reports, the audit with these agencies, and also I have to get on to Paris, and we have to file the audit, an annual report, an investment report, and a procurement report. All right, and there's other ones on here that I'll, for you to review. So again, those are fixed dates that during the course of the year represent times when we have to do certain things. Next, under administering an IDA project. When projects come to the IDA, what you typically see is when you get the application and then you take certain actions depending upon what the application is requesting. But before and after these meetings, the two meetings that you typically review these applications on, there are a number of tasks that are undertaken to process that application from beginning to end. And what I've done here starting at the bottom of page 8 and completing on page 10 of your agenda is really that step-by-step process and all of the details that go through what it takes to go through and process a project application. You know, and it starts with typically Kara and I having a discussion about, is this potential project eligible to receive IDA benefits? It's a fundamental question. The project has to comply with the requirements of general municipal law that it can receive financial incentives. And if it can, I work with the company, we get a project application submitted. You know, and as a part of that, each year, every time an application comes to you, we talk about there's a project number. Well, that's something that the state controller has a coding system that we use to assign numbers to a project. Like the first four numbers, 1701, that's the number that the controller office years ago assigned to the Fulton County IDA. So all of our projects, when you see they come in, it starts with word number 1701 because that's the code number for for us. The next two numbers are the calendar year. So the next project coming into us this year will be 1701-21. All right. And then the next two carriers represent the sequential order of projects that come in a year. So the first one we would have this year would be 1701-21-01. And then the last one is a letter. And that letter would be if a project that came in was going to, like the Benjamin Moore project, they were coming in for an expansion, you know, that would be, we'd have a letter that says this is going to be phase B, you know, phase 2 of a project. So again, something that we do internally that gets the project ready to be processed. You know, and then we go through, I go through what you do at your first board meeting, which is typically we review a project. What are they asking for? Get seeker started. And if a project is going to be a certain size, we schedule a public hearing on it. But then, you know, I put in here then what goes on between the meetings. Again, I'm just going to have you read some of those things. We again comes to a second meeting, and that's when we conclude seeker and give final approval to the project, grant the financial incentives that are being requested. And then following that meeting, there's a whole series of actions that both Kara and I take to bring that project to conclusion. You know, and it typically involves the execution of a number of documents that Kara prepares, I review, and she gets them all signed by both the applicant and the IDA chairman. So again, I just wanted you to see that whole step-by-step process. That's for your review. And then the last thing is there are certain requirements that we have to follow if a project is requesting financial incentives that exceed $100,000. Most of our projects that come to us do exceed that threshold. And basically what it says is you have to have a public hearing, and that public hearing has to be held in the municipality in which the project is located. So again, for what that's worth, that is this month's board education. Any questions on any of that information?
Jim, I just think I have a comment.
Yep.
We kind of tied to earlier in the meeting when we were getting the FCRG presentation, and Joe, I believe, mentioned this at the last meeting. They gave an indication that they're looking at a potential project for the Tryon Industrial Park. Again, we don't know anything about that company. It'd be helpful. I mean, we don't need to know the specifics, but it'd be nice to know which parcel they're looking at. What kind, is it a manufacturer? Is it warehousing? Is it hospitality? And then kind of an indication, is it 0 to 50 jobs, 50 to 100 jobs, 100 plus jobs? I mean, technically that's our property and we should have some knowledge of what they're proposing to go in there. I know Joe was talking last week about having a discussion with Ron Peters. It's just a little frustrating not knowing who they're talking to or what they're even about. And I'm like, I need to be specific, but just with some general information, I think will be helpful to this board.
No arguments from me.
Yeah, no, I had those conversations, but same thing. It's, I just reiterated that we submitted guidelines to what we felt was acceptable after the one situation we had. And as long as they follow those guidelines, I mean, they know what we really don't want. And most of it deals with traffic, interruption. But yeah, we don't get any specifics, so we'll work on getting that better, hopefully.
Okay. One additional item I'd like to just put out there on the agenda, and that is the tract of land by Tryon that we call the Tryon Development Area. It's that 45-acre tract on the north side of Tryon that had been identified originally as a potential site for housing. You know, there's been little or no interest in that site for housing to date. And in talking with, but that parcel is included in our agreement with Cushman & Wakefield to be marketing. And my question is, should we open that parcel up to as also to be looked at as a potential shovel-ready site? Okay, not eliminating it as a potential site for residential development, but adding to it as a potential shovel-ready site. I mean, it's a 45-acre tract of land, which has access onto County Road 158. And it, you know, so it could be a valuable site for, you know, to offer for a manufacturing company. Just wanted to toss that out to see if thoughts and comments on that.
I think that's something you need to consider very strongly, Jim. I mean, if it was attractive for residential development, I would have thought there'd be, you know, inquiries on it by now. So I think it's to our benefit to open it up to as many different types of uses that we could possibly consider.
Okay.
So,
and again, we wouldn't preclude it from still being developed
Sure.
residentially. This would just be adding it, you know, adding to the potential uses of it.
Yep.
Is everyone, would everyone be okay with that?
I think so, but I mean, why would they go there and not in the industrial park where they have all the infrastructure already?
Well, access, you know, having to just drive down 158 and not have to go all the way down the hill, make a right-hand turn into Tryon, make a right-hand turn, assuming they're coming off of, you know, New York State Route 29.
Right, I hear you.
That would be the one, Joe. Other than that, I don't know. It may not be attractive, but I, again, just wanted to maybe open it up to see if that's you know, attractive land that we could offer to a business as opposed to residential.
Right. No, I think it could be listed as available for that, but as you and I were talking, I maybe bring in a proposal there.
Yeah,
for
and
residential.
again, you know, if
Yep.
it's done residential, you know, fine. So, all right, well, we'll leave it at that for now. And I will talk with Jeff Diamore and just say, you know, if you wish to, if you have a company that's looking for a 45-acre tract of land, and this is an option that you could offer to them.
But will we offer that at the 27.5 because it's going to be a shovel-ready site, not the lower assessment?
Right.
Okay.
It would be a more value to the IDA.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, would like to call for an executive session for as shown on the agenda. Was someone able to make that motion?
Hold on. Would you need to read the reason for it?
Yes, it's listed in here to discuss the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property.
I would like to make a motion to go into executive.
Okay. Dave, I'll take that hand throw as a second. Do a roll call vote. Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Dave Demore.
Aye.
We are now in executive session.
I make that motion. For Jane.
Jane is the second.
Yeah.
Roll call vote. Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Todd Rulison, Dave Demore.
Aye.
Todd left the meeting, okay? And so we're now back in open session at 9:40. And if there's no other business to conduct, take a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Dave? Seconded by Joe.
Sure.
Roll call vote. Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Jane Kelly, Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
and Dave Demore.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time this morning.